My guest today is Zeus Yiamouyiannis, who has an amazing creation, which is this book here, The Spiritually Confident Man. And the subheading is Pioneering a New Frontier of Co-Creative Masculinity. Now, Zeus, you and I only met in the last couple of days, even though we've been in contact for a year or so.
Right.
You sent me this book a while ago. I am quite blown away how immediately it started activating me as I was reading some of these sentences, because first of all, I think the title is brilliant. Just the title alone, The Spiritually Confident Man, I'm like, wow, I've not really heard of that out there or seen that out there. Right. But then as I was reading the first few chapters, there were so many sentences and concepts that were making me go, oh, things that I think I felt, but had never heard articulated before.
Right.
And my feeling for me with the book is it's giving me a brand new framework at which to look at where I can evolve. And so thank you for creating this.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's a high praise from you. I mean, you're a very energetically sensitive person, and if it's activating you, I feel very good about that. And also, when you said about creating a framework, that's exactly what I was trying to do. Some people have told me, you're saying the thing that I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind, but I didn't have words to put to it. So if it's doing that for you, I'm feeling very good about that as well. And I'm hoping it's doing that for others. I know it's a little bit ahead of its time, but it is beginning to set the table or set the framework, and I'm very happy about that.
I love that you say it's ahead of its time, and you mentioned that to me yesterday, and just a kind of sidebar, when I met you yesterday, I remember we'd been together for a while, and I said to you, you have an electric brain. And it's great. No, it's lovely being in your presence, because I can feel your electric brain, and it makes so much sense of how you were able to map this out for us.
Right.
But the book being ahead of its time is very true. As I was reading it, I was aware, because it only came out last year.
Right.
But I feel like not only is it a book that's going to have increasing importance over the years to come, but I also get the blueprint you've created for the work that you are doing and going to be doing.
Right.
And it's work that we need. Because if I can just quote from the back of the book, a different age calls for a different man. And then there was a line in the book that I think that really encapsulates it. There is no easy place for a man in today's world.
Right.
Powerful words. What do you mean by that?
Well, we're kind of caught in that in-between place. You know, on the tennis court, it's called no man's land. And that's kind of where we are historically as men. The old John Wayne-ish kind of patriarchal man that called the shots and faked it till he made it, and and was given a lot of, I guess you would say, props and bonuses and legs up, is largely being either equalized or being taken away to a certain degree. And I think this is actually a gift for men. There's a lot of reaction to that. In fact, in this book, I talk about two kinds of men, the animal man and the social man. The animal man being all angry about this move to equalize things, and the social man trying to be maybe overly solicitous and saying, oh, well, yeah, I just got to adapt. Well, neither one of those are ultimately going to work. They're kind of functional mid-range strategies that are going to lose their ability to actually face the world that's emerging. What you need is a creative man, a co-creative man, and that's going to look a lot different. It's going to both require me to have a masculinity that is vivified, right? It's not going to be the watering down kind of masculinity, but one that is also extraordinarily honoring and respectful and excited and curious about engaging the feminine or engaging gay men, or, you know, or being able to stand up in the face of war and finding much more productive, much more constructive and more life-affirming ways to find purpose and meaning and excitement in your life.
Well, you bring up the animal man, the social man, and early in the book, chapter 2, you break down these kind of three types: animal man, social man, co-creative man.
Right.
You've touched on co-creative a little bit there. What would you just say in a line or two epitomizes each of those types for people who are new to this concept?
Well, the animal man is where desire and force comes from, and we should still retain that. But directed in a different way. So the animal man is sort of that visceral, is a visceral man, the one that has desire, the one that has magnetism and charisma, right? Oftentimes that can be abused, but it doesn't have to be. And we don't have to say, well, that's just in a primitive form, and we're going to leave it behind. I think we should bring it forward, but in a much more progressive way. The social man is that one that is about caring and belonging, a guy who can fold his arms around family and around community, not just in terms of protecting, but in terms of nurturing and being able to step up and engage in child care. And a lot of these things men have been invited to do in the last few decades. And the co-creative man takes the energy of that too, the belonging and the care married with the desire and that almost kundalini force, and says, okay, now what can we do with this? How can we emphasize connection? The co-creative man is a connected man that needs at least two things, most importantly two things. One is what I call divine genius, which is like a vitalization and a recognition of this expressive creative force that's unique to me, that is involved in my passions, so I can access that animal man part, but now at a higher, more evolved level. Yeah. And that caring and that ability to connect and sort of bring that forward and to embrace that divine genius of others and bring them together in an honest, curious, humorous, adventurous way. And then that's what co-creative man is. You know, in the book, I talk about this because a lot of men are going through this, the three types of co-creative men. One was the despairing man. Because a lot of times, because we are in this no man's land area, men are like, what purpose do I have anymore? And especially when they age, they're like, I'm no longer vital. The old notions of manhood are now going away, and I'm not supporting my family. They're moved on. My physical vitality is falling off a little bit. What is there? And I say in this book, when you age as a man, now is your time. The co-creative man realizes the emergence of the spiritual is coming out as these other things are falling away, as your ego is beginning to diminish its force or leadership in your life. Now the spiritual aspect of you is coming forward. So initially that may feel like despair because a lot of these things have been taken away from you, but instead of reacting or backlashing, as some men are doing, you move into a searching mode, and that's sort of the transitional mode, the searching man. Okay, what am I? I'm curious. I don't know exactly, but I feel this vitality, and I feel this desire to share and explore, and then that leads into spiritual confidence. Because when you do that, then all of a sudden that awakens and allows this spirit to travel up the spine into the heart and out into the world. And we don't have, that's why it's a little ahead of the time. We don't have a lot of models for that out there right now for men. You're providing some of them. Some other people that are, sort of on the cutting edge of metaphysics are providing some of them. I'm trying to provide some blueprints, as you say, in this book. But we're just on the cusp of that, and it's very exciting. It's like a startup. Yeah. But it's a very creative, very social startup.
Yes. And it's interesting because when I was reading the terms animal man, social man, co-creative man, I had a very interesting reaction. Mm-hmm. I was reading them and I had a judgmental voice in my own head say to me, oh, you need to be more of an animal man. Mm-hmm. And what it revealed to me when I noticed that thought was kind of like, okay, so there's two that I can identify that are fairly active in my life or are perhaps bigger than this one. And that goes right back to the playground, what a man should be. And interestingly, what I thought, well, actually, you have been really very physical in the last couple of years. You've made it dedicated, but there is still that stigma as a man of what you should be, who you should be, and there's such a lack of guidance and leadership. So that's why the book is so powerful if you are a man reading it, because you're reading it and your own stuff gets revealed to you and shown to you. So it's very healing.
Right, and the part of that can be very healing and now is being opened for you is, I don't have to attach the forms that society has given to the animal man to my expression of that kundalini energy. I can have my own unique engagement with it. Whereas before you've been sort of propagandized to believe, oh, being an animal man's mean acting like this or having these roles. Within this book, you say, no, animal man is an energy that I can creatively engage and express in very powerful, forceful ways, but in ways that aren't just stereotypically patriarchal or stereotypically sort of like, I'm not going to listen to anyone, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do kind of thing. Yeah. So, I'm glad it's awakening that. I think that that's going to be very powerful for all of us as men.